What is it? Is Zach, the Dark Conservatarian, and I'm here with a very rare guest from from my network of YouTubers, Loudmouth Reviews. So say hello, Loudmouth.
Hello.
Loudmouth.
Hello.
I said say hello, Loudmouth.
I
That
did.
was all. Okay. Anyway,
Something must be wrong with your audio. I don't know.
coming off to an
Or mine.
awkward start, but whatever. So anyway, there's like rarely anything that I disagree with Loudmouth on, but today we are going to be talking about movies probably, and mainly what prompted the idea of this stream was religion. Like I watched a live stream that Loudmouth had done with Tyler Preston, and he was just going on about religion. I thought, hey, why not have a conversation with him about it? And it's just going to be just that. I mean, I don't make the plan to make this like a full-on debate. I mean, not as passionate as my debate with Colt of Ham went on Wednesday, but still, I've yet to find anything that I disagree with Loudmouth on except for religion. So yeah, for starters, if I may just ask out of curiosity, Loudmouth, what was the one video that you watched that made you want to subscribe to my channel?
Darn it, I don't even remember. It was a while back.
Was it by chance the Bearing edits Loudmouth out of context video?
I think I was subscribed to you before that, so I don't think that was the one.
Okay. Never mind.
But after that one, I did actually add you to my like featured channels list.
Yeah, I added you to my featured channels because I mean, I probably give you a little bit, you and Humane, a little bit too much credit, but I still think that you two are like some of the most observant people in our little network as far as YouTube drama goes. Baphomet is in the chat. Hello, Baphomet. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, you're like one of the people that kind of woke me up to the whole skeptic community thing, or helped to push that along ever since that one live stream that you entered on saying, fuck Bearing. Bearing deserves more than
dude. I don't want this to be a drama stream.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I won't go on about it. You said that you were beyond that. Yeah, I'm beyond that as well. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Boss, dude. Yeah. In terms of that stream, I was a little on the drunker side of things. So that's why I kind of it's kind of why I stumbled more than usual.
Speaking of drama,
having a really shitty week that week. Yeah.
Oh damn. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
More than usual. I mean.
Speaking of drama, that Andy Worski though.
That Andy Worski, yes. Lots of drama over there, yeah. But I rarely ever follow it, but it always seems like there's all kinds of shit attached to his channel lately that are right through the vines.
Yeah,
I never watch it, so I don't know that much about it. But yeah, it seems like every week there's some controversy involving him.
Yeah, I mean, it used to have been that Francesca Ramsey was just his main foil. I would not really technically classify that as drama. I mean, they were responding, or he was responding to her on issues of substance. Now, these days, it's just people, he's going back and forth with people on Twitter over petty shit like,
yeah,
oh, your show is shit. No, my show is great.
Yeah, you really need to grow some thicker skin, you know, and learn to get over people giving him some shit, you know, because he's a big channel now. So people are going to give him shit. That's just how it is.
Oh, speaking of Andy Worski, something in my recommendations, a video by Rin Michaelis, Fight Me, Bish. Oh, you scared. Real talk. Yeah, but Rin is like one of the people that helped me to be more aware of the shit going down with Andy.
Oh, wait, what happened with her and Andy?
Oh, no, nothing. She's just been observing the drama that Andy would get on. I mean, it's not like she personally is engaged in any drama with Andy. I mean, I think she threw a few replies at Andy, but I don't think Andy has replied to her yet, at least that I've seen.
Worski actually follows me on Twitter, and he actually messaged me one time. He it was involved something about my association with Vadim Newquist, but it was nothing really.
I mean, he wasn't trashing you for that, was he?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't trashing me. He was just saying he noted that I had him on my channel. Yeah, no big deal. I just thought, oh, cool, a big YouTuber's following me. Cool. That's all I thought of it. I didn't think much of it.
Although I don't know of how clean I would feel if somebody as bitchy as Andy Worski has become would be following me. In fact, I felt kind of.
What? Look, I know he's become bitchy and all, but I know he's kind of like been a little bit of a douche to some people lately. But I don't think he's like an evil bad guy, you know.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. I
just think he's dumb. I think I'm sorry. The guy does not have a high IQ.
No, I mean, but at least in the past, he tried to talk smart. I mean, with his response videos to Francesca Ramsey and whatnot. And now it's just, he's not even trying to sound smart. He's just being a platform for everyone else as he's raking in all the money. Hello, Cat Chat.
It sounds like a smart idea, actually. All right. Seems like he's got a good thing going. He just gets to really sit there and just kind of play monitor, bring on some larger guests, have them fight on the channel. All right. And all right, that have their fight bring in traffic, and he gets all the money. Okay,
yeah,
it seems like he's got a good thing going, man.
let him do his thing. I don't really care, but I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would be able to stand that. Just doing nothing but listening to people and asking.
That's why I don't watch his channel. Yes, exactly. I find most of it boring. But you know, if people want to pay him, you know, more power to the guy, whatever.
I mean, if he still like done response videos as well as all this, I would have a little bit more respect for him, and I'd probably still stay subscribed to him. But he's doing nothing but live streams now, is the thing. It just got boring and repetitive.
I agree, but honestly, I was never really subscribed to the guy. I probably only ever watched like a couple of his response videos back in the day, so it didn't really matter too much to me. The most noteworthy thing that Worski ever did was when Teal Deer like skewered him for white knighting. I watched that video by Teal Deer and I couldn't stop laughing my ass off at just how bad Teal Deer like skewered him. It was the funniest damn thing.
Yeah, I should probably watch more of Teal Deer. I mean, I have
Teal Deer, that guy is like the smartest fucker on YouTube. That guy is brilliant. I envy that man's intelligence.
Second from Logic.
I don't know. Logic's a really smart guy too, but I'd probably Teal Deer. That guy really does his homework on his videos. He like always researches all these different articles to make sure everything he says is accurate, and to like really present studies in a very easy to understand way to the layman. Really good stuff. I admire channels that really put effort into their work.
Yeah. I actually have borrowed a few sound bites from him. You know, the whole citation needed.
Yeah, I've thought that sound bite in my videos is a little tribute to him.
I featured on my response video to Reason TV on illegal immigration, which that was really disappointing to see Reason TV go white knighting for illegal immigration.
Reason TV has always been pro illegal immigration, dude. It's not really new. They're a libertarian. I guess I should suspect it so. They're pure libertarian perspective, and they don't really like the idea of government enforced borders because they see that as kind of a government invasion of the free flow of people. It's kind of their perspective on things.
I mean, I guess I would understand that more if they were like full-on anarcho-capitalists, but I don't know. I guess that's not really the implication that I get from Reason TV, is that they're saying we're ANCAPs. We want absolutely no government at all.
Well, my real thing about it, though, is the fact that a lot of them take taxpayer-funded services. If we didn't really have those taxpayer-funded services, it really wouldn't matter. But it isn't really a libertarian position to want more people taking more taxpayer-funded services from out of country. All right, that is very unlibertarian if you really think about it. Whereas, yeah, I mean, a global free market, you would have the free flow of labor across borders. But that's not the way nation states typically structure themselves.
I mean, I'm a libertarian as well, but I think that if we are to have a government, that the essential function of government is to protect the people within its society, trying to protect it from outside forces and from immoral criminals even inside the society, and so on and so forth. That being police and military, you know.
Yeah, and that's,
I mean, that's the
a
main
lot of
statement.
drug traffickers use the lax border to have all kinds of criminal activity around the area, shoot up cops, all right, ship drugs in, all kinds of things.
All right. And I just gotta ask this out of curiosity. If Mitt Romney was to run in 2016 against Hillary Clinton, would you have voted for him?
Yes.
Oh, you would have? Okay.
Yes, I would. If I would have voted for Mitt Romney over Hillary Clinton, I did not vote for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. I voted for Gary Johnson. Because Donald Trump is a total prick, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
I just mainly did not vote for him because I thought that he was a Hillary plant, which a few months later, he appoints Neil Gorsuch for Supreme Court, and bust goes that theory.
Yeah.
I voted for Evan McMullen. So anyway, on the conversation about religion, so I heard you say, like, in your live stream with Tyler Preston, that the main reason why you became non-religious, and you say that you're an agnostic and not a full-on atheist, correct?
No, I say I'm an agnostic atheist, meaning I don't know that there's no God. I just don't believe in one, don't put my faith in one, because I see no good evidence or good reason to believe in one.
Okay, and I think what you, if I recall correctly, one of the things that you explained in that live stream was that one of the things that helped push you over the edge is just by reading the Bible. Like, could you explain that in further?
Yeah, the Bible is full of constant contradictions. And all right, and it clearly shows that the God of the Bible really isn't any more moral or enlightened than the God of any other mythology. Is a big thing. And there really is no way to reconcile what we know about science with the Bible. It really does not fit. All right. There are a lot of people who say, oh, they buy evolution but still believe the Bible. You really can't, because if you really look at it, what we know about geology, cosmology, biology, the Bible contradicts it left and right. And it all shows there's nothing within its pages that shows any evidence of any kind of divine influence. There's no knowledge you get from the Bible or the Quran that any human of the time couldn't have come up with themselves. So why put your faith in these texts as holy and sacred when there's nothing holy or sacred in them?
Well, I guess I'm not quite understanding the whole saying that there's nothing that the Bible presents that provides evidence for it. I mean,
no, nothing.
Oh, God.
Like here's an example. If, let's say, the Bible had said, one day there will be a force, there will be something that will unite the entire world, and this shall be called the internet. All right. That would be a pretty amazing prediction. All right. But there's nothing like that in the Bible. Nothing in the Bible really ever predicts anything before it happened, except for things that could have obviously been predicted. For example, you predict the fall of a civilization. Eventually, you're going to get proven right, because civilizations all eventually fall. All right. But nothing that really showed a prediction of the future that really could not have been guessed.
I think there's like a passage in the Bible, do not recall which verse it exactly is, predicting the fall of Babylon. And they weren't, they weren't referencing the actual ancient Babylon, but Babylon was like one of the main superpowers back in the old day. And they're trying to like equivalent that to the main superpower of the modern world. And people suspect that as they're using Babylon as an analogy, that they're referencing that to the United States, possibly.
But that's just making stuff up that's not in the text, though. It doesn't say the United States. America's never mentioned in the Bible.
Right? I mean,
because America wasn't available in the lexicon of the people who wrote it. All right, because it was written by humans. Everything about it shows that it was man-made. All right.
Right. They use like dumbed down terminology and analogies that people would be able to like grasp their minds around. I mean, for example, do you recall the one passage? I think it might be in Leviticus, maybe, talking about the I had a conversation with Cult of Ham on this at one point, talking about some abortion-esque type of ritual that if a woman was unfaithful, a pregnant woman was unfaithful to her husband, she was to take some kind of potion or poison or whatever that would cause her thigh to rot. I mean, do you think that in that verse that they're referencing to her actual thigh, or do you think they're referencing to that as a dumbed down terminology for a fetus, an aborted fetus?
Possibly, possibly, but again, the very fact that it's open to interpretation really shows that it doesn't provide any solid evidence of any divine origin. Like, can you name a verse in the Bible that you think no human being of the time period could possibly have come up with? That something that they knew that no human back then could have possibly known. There really is not a single one.
I think there's like plenty of analogies in Revelations predicting of nations invading nations.
Nations invaded nations all the time.
No. Well, what I mean by that is that they go trying to detail all the different supposed creatures that take part in invasions, and one of the creatures that they define is it is a wasp with many eyes on all its sides, and if I was to like read through that verse, maybe I should actually try to search up the verse. But if I was to read that verse, I would think that it's like
the book of Revelation in particular really comes across like someone was high on acid when they wrote it. It's just a bunch of trippy ass little nightmare images.
Well, how would
that really don't tell anything of any value or substance?
Well, how would a person be able to define a helicopter? Because as I was trying to say, the wasp with many eyes on all sides, that to me sounds like a helicopter. Because if I was like some Stone Age man and I looked at a helicopter, I would not know how to define that except as some type of insect with eyes on all sides, and the eyes would be the glass windows. I mean, that's one example of like dumbed down terminology. What?
You know, the compound eye of an insect goes all the way around. That's why insects have a compound eye. It gives them a wider field of view, though they primarily see through ultraviolet light.
Also, there was another passage talking about an arm that shoots fire out of its mouth and a snake of a tail. And if I saw, say, like a battle tank, that would probably be roughly how I would define it. Like
more likely, it does not sound like a machine. It sounds like a mythical creature, which lots of mythologies have. Why not call it actually a machine that does this? Why call it a creature?
Well, I do not know if was the word machine actually invented back then?
Yes, the word machine was around back then. There were many machines back then. Things like pulleys, levers, things like that were around back then, and they were simple machines. So yes, machines were around back then. Not electronic machines, but they were machines. The wheel is a simple machine. All right, and yet it doesn't describe any of these things as machines. It describes them as beasts, as monsters.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that they're trying to like dumb down the predictions to like simplistic terms that people could wrap their heads around. What is it?
But why? There are many things like that you can find in any religion. Why put your faith in the Bible as opposed to, say, the Quran, for example? What about the Bible? It makes people more sure that it's the word of God than the Quran, or vice versa to a Muslim. What makes a Muslim sure the Quran is divinely inspired, but the Bible is corrupted, as most Muslims believe? What logical reason is there to believe this? The answer is there's nothing. There's nothing in the Bible or Quran that testify to being divine. Everything about them, everything in them, comes across as a man-made story, man-made writings.
Well, one of the evidences that a whole lot of people rely on is the evidence around the resurrection of Jesus, and I gonna explain, and we're probably going to get in an even more stretched out conversation about this. the Shroud of Turin. Like there's a video of some scientists doing like a carbon 14 testing. I'm probably going to be butchering the terminology. Like I have a playlist in my
it was carbon
channel
dated to be from the mid-Middle Ages, aka far too recent to be the Shroud of Jesus.
There's also a Telegraph article talking about how there was an Earth. Shroud of Turin, carbon dating. It explains in the Telegraph, an earthquake in Jerusalem in AD 33 may have created an atomic reaction which created the Shroud of Turin and skewed radiocarbon dating results. Scientists believe the Turin Shroud may not be a medieval forgery after all, after science discovered it could date from the time of Christ. It's basically saying that from the radiations of that earthquake could have messed up the carbon dating for the shroud.
Okay, let's say it did date to the time of Christ. Let's say it came from Christ himself. All right, how in hell would that be evidence of God? All right, a man's image on a cloth.
Okay, here's my thought. If say Jesus was really found to have resurrected, if some supernatural action was to go on there, that he was really raised from the dead, magically, I use the word magically loosely, by the way, magically out of his cloth, then that would be some supernatural shit going down. And the assumption would be that he wasn't just some crackpot that spewing random folk tales that are unbelievable at first glimpse. Sorry, I'm getting distracted with the chat here a little bit too much. If there's really evidence around the resurrection, if the resurrection could be proven true, then one would have to assume that Jesus wasn't just some random crackpot that was crucified on a cross and then buried in a tomb, but it really was what he was saying what he was, the Messiah.
Of course, but there is no evidence whatsoever that Jesus rose from the dead.
All right, and I'll reference again that there's a playlist I have on my channel that is religion/faith, and the first video that I have on that playlist is a video talking about the carbon dating of the Shroud of Turin. And I'm going to be butchering the terminology that they used, but they found that there was basically an event horizon that took place at a point that made Jesus disappear out of the shroud. Yeah, I probably don't make much sense.
There any evidence? What scientific papers support such a thing?
Scientific papers?
What published peer-reviewed scientific papers support such a thing, such an event horizon?
Well, I wouldn't know. I mean,
none. I'm willing to bet. That's the point. If there's if you can't. If they have such evidence of a miraculous occurrence, why not publish it and get it peer-reviewed in an accredited scientific journal? That would rock the world if such a thing happened, but they don't.
Well, I have yet to see a person actually try to debunk the claims of that said video. So, I don't know. I mean, we might be at a crossroads right here, but yeah. Where do we go here?
Other things the Bible gets wrong is, according to Genesis chapter 30, it says that visual influence can influence the genetic characteristics of offspring during intercourse. We know science and genetic inheritance has shown that's not true. All right. It shows there's a story where Jacob, basically takes these rods and he paints them with stripes, okay? And then in order to get striped cattle, he stakes out his cattle in front of them and has them conceive offspring. And the offspring were born with stripes, or spots, depending on which rod he put them in front of, because they copulated in front of the rods. Science has shown that what you look at during intercourse, and this was a belief that was believed all up until the beginning of the 1800s, that if you saw something or said something during intercourse that could affect the genetic inheritance of your child you beget. But of course, science has shown that's not true. If that were true, okay, the offspring of two white parents would be black if they fucked in the dark. That's obviously ridiculous.
Well, I don't know if that's supposed. What verse are you talking about? You can't remember.
30. I mean, Genesis chapter 30.
Okay, you cannot remember the specific verse. I mean, that's fine.
Obviously,
I cannot remember.
It goes through most of the chapter.
The what?
I think the story goes through most of the chapter. He had his prize cattle taken away, Jacob, by his father-in-law, and in order to get prize striped and speckled cattle back, he comes up with this weird scheme of striped rods. It's a weird story.
I would have to ask, is that verse trying to say that it's a consistent trend? Or is it saying that if you do this, put the rod in front of the cow, then I shall intervene and make the cows striped?
I
mean, because if it's
seems that's exactly what it's saying. Hell, if you fucked a chick with rose-tinted glasses on, you'd be guaranteed a redhead if this story was true.
Well, no, I mean, like, is it trying to say that if you do this consistently, that it'll happen every time, like trying to bring out some method for how you to breed your cow to get a certain look for them? I don't know.
Seems to me evidence that the writers of the Bible didn't know anything about how genetics work.
Rachel saw that.
I mean, earlier in Genesis, of course, the ordering of creation is all wrong. It describes plants existing before the sun, which is absurd because plants require sunlight in order to photosynthesize. Without photons of light, all plants' life will die. All right. It also describes whales having existed before land animals, even though whales are descended from land animals. Hence why they breathe air.
I'm sorry, a cat chat in the chat saying, try 25 verse, that is chapter 30, verse 25. Yeah, I'm not seeing any mention of what Loudmouth is talking about, cat chat.
I'm getting this off the top of my head. I haven't read the Bible in a while. Striped rods. Yep, it is chapter 30 here. They made it in Genesis 30:39. All right. They made it in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. All right, that's the exact verse. 30:39. Yes. I just looked it up. I just Googled it.
Well, there are deformities. There are like occasional birth deformities, though, isn't there? I mean, you have albino animals born. I mean,
true, but whether you fucking fond of us striped or speckled rods has nothing to do with that.
Okay, I mean, what if they're just saying coincidentally they ended up being birthed in front of this striped rod, and the cattle came out striped, but they don't say that it's a direct cause. Just, I don't know. Sorry.
But the most common apologetics of this is that this is a miracle from God that is being described here, and thus the fact that it contradicts natural laws would not be in violation of science. But this verse never mentions God, and if it was God's influence that caused the genetic mutation of the cattle, what was the point of these striped or speckled rods? All right, if they didn't do anything, why on earth does it attribute this as the reason for Jacob's success in breeding the cattle?
I think another example of that would be the story of Jesus feeding the thousands of people with just a few loaves of bread and then multiplied that to many. I mean, it doesn't specify whether it was a miracle or whether there was some big caravan of food that came in to feed them. Like they started off with the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and then it doesn't explain, hey, was it a miracle? Did Jesus multiply it magically?
Well, obviously,
or was there a caravan that came in?
All right.
Obviously what?
Well, obviously such a thing would have to be a miracle because the laws of physics and non-contradiction would make that impossible otherwise.
Right. I'm saying that that's an example of a verse not being specific as to how it happened. Cat Jet is being kind of condescending. Cat Jet, I implore you to be to tone down the condescension. She says, and maybe I shouldn't read it out loud. Or
verse 25 is the beginning of the context. I see what she says, but what context is there in terms of this story and how that would affect my perception of it?
Okay. Mike Winger, Cat Chat, Mike Winger, is that a person that goes talking about biblical contradictions and now they're not really contradictions or something? Book of Revelation is the hardest book to understand, but that doesn't mean it's worthless. I mean, if say all the books of the Bible were false, would you say that they are still valuable for some type of valuable lesson?
Well, of course, they're important works of history. They're important pieces of mythology. The same way the Iliad or the Odyssey or the writings of the Vikings, the Norse mythology. It's just another mythology, just like any other. And these are important stories to know to understand man's history and how man thought throughout the vast majority of its history. But you can teach them and understand them without accepting the supernatural elements. And many stories in the Bible probably are based on things that actually happened, and they interpret it through a supernatural lens. Kind of similar to in the Iliad, of course, the Trojan War was a real historical event, but it constantly references gods and goddesses that certainly were not there. Zeus was not there. Apollo was not there. Athena was not there, because these characters are all fictional. But the war, the Trojan War itself, did happen. And the same is true for probably many stories in the Bible. Like there probably was a Jesus of some kind who was a kind of a religious preacher who's crucified by the Romans. There probably was a person that story is based on that did exist. But that doesn't mean he really ascended from the dead.
Okay. Cat Chat is saying the word, and I think what she's meaning that is the word machine. The word was not invented back then. I would have to challenge you to like I don't know, back that up, Cat, or something, or maybe
But I do point out that there were mechanical devices back then, because again, pulleys, things, levers, rays, these are all machines.
Yeah, but were they actually termed as machine? I mean, I'm not talking about things that would be classified as machines today. I wasn't asking if the things that would be termed as machines today, were they invented back then? I was asking the actual word machine, like invented in any language.
Machine, obviously, probably not. No, but there would be a term for that to distinguish them as being inanimate devices versus living animals. Whereas the creatures in Revelation are not described as inanimate devices, okay? They are described as animals, or like as beasts, as monsters. And there's a clear distinction between what is living and non-living. A wheel is not alive.
If I saw a mechanical dragon, for example, for a theme park back in the old days, I would not have thought that to be an inanimate object. I would have thought, oh my gosh, it's a dragon. It's a real life dragon. And would not have had the explanation or the conceivability to conceive of a large machine being dressed up as a dragon.
Yes. But this is supposed to be God's word, though. Not all right. God would know the difference. Oh,
well,
right. You say that God's word is dumbed down for the people of the time to understand, but all doing that does is make these stories seem stupid to future generations. All right, so that shows a God who sees the future had very little foresight.
Well, I don't know what to tell you about that. I mean, but I guess I don't see that as to meaning much, just honestly. Baphomet says, my form of Satanism is the best. Catchat says, never doubted you weren't a Satanist. I think Baphomet only pretends to be a Satanist, Cat. She says, carbon dating is a load. Well, if carbon dating was a load of shit, or if that's what you're trying to say there, Kat, I would ask you, what other method would you try to use to try and prove the resurrection of Jesus?
Basically, that's like denying pretty much all the entire science of radiology, all just because it contradicts your Bronze Age mythology. All this overwhelming scientific evidence, all these generations and generations of study on things, all the things we've invented with radiometry, okay? The atomic bomb, nuclear power, all that should be just denied, thrown out the window. Just because, these ancient writings by some goat herders 2,000 years ago totally contradict some findings that we have found using radiometric dating. I just can't fathom that mindset. I really can't.
It dated Catshut said it dated a living penguin as 12 years.
Maybe the penguin had ingested older material. Did you ever thought of that?
I wouldn't know about that. I mean, that's what Cat Chat is saying in the chat. Cat Chat saying in the chat.
That the samples were contaminated. There are numerous other explanations. I'd have to all right, you can probably look into it, and all those claims of carbon dating not working are always debunked. But they also try to claim that carbon 14 dating of a dinosaur bone said that it was only tens of thousands of years old. But the real thing is carbon dating doesn't last that long. It's too old. All right, you use far different radiometric clocks in order to date to something as old as a non-avian dinosaur bone, okay? What it was dating was not the bone itself, but residue that appeared on top of the bone. All right, in real scientific conditions, you can test for those things.
Well, it sounds to me like in that example, they would have to carbon date the said bone in multiple spots in just one.
Well, they don't carbon date the dinosaur bone. Well, non-avian dinosaur bones because they're too old. There are several other clocks, all right? Different radiometric rocks have different half-lives, okay? All right, the amount of time it takes for half of the radium in them to deplete. And here's the thing, though, okay? All these half-lives all correspond to each other, even though they have different rates of decay. They all perfectly align with each other. All right, there is no explanation creationists have for this. None.
I mean, I'm not really here to debate carbon dating because
in terms of the fossil record, okay, they never have an explanation for why the hell there haven't been any rabbits in the Cambrian, or why the hell are non-avian dinosaurs never not a single time ever found in the same rock layers as modern mammals. All right, for example, in the late 90s, okay, they found a velociraptor, all right, frozen in combat, dead with one of its prey items, a protoceratops, in Mongolia. All right, they kind of found them locked in combat. It's believed that the raptor was hunting this thing, and then a rock slide buried them both during their combat, kind of locking them into combat forever. So the real question there is, Why don't we ever find raptors mixed with a sheep? Why don't you ever find a wolf, a modern wolf preying on a protoceratops? Nope, because wolves and sheep evolved far after protoceratopses and velociraptors went extinct.
Yeah. Too much. She said, muted, I'm not in the mood to debate.
That's
my apology.
Figures.
I mean, we're not trying to have like a full-on actual passionate debate. We're just friends discussing.
Right, but I'm saying that why people saying carbon dating doesn't work or radiometric dating can just be ignored because it contradicts my mythology. It annoys me. It really does. All right. Science has built us lots of great things. All right, in this world, people take advantage of those, but they still deny the science that gave them those things. Science builds rockets and flies them to the moon. Religion hijacks planes and flies them into buildings. Hello? You froze up.
Oh, what?
Oh, never mind.
Can you hear me
froze
now?
Up a second.
Okay. Cat Chat says, nor do I want any further decision until you prove to me Christians don't have a rebuttal. I don't think that was what Loudmouth was saying. It says your network connection is having difficulties. Am I still on? Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Loudmouth?
I hear you.
Okay. All right. So anyway, I guess we'll just move on from the religion discussion. Just in the scheme of things, I mean, I am a Christian, and I really would wish that the entire world would become Christians, accept Jesus as their savior, so that that they could all like be in heaven with yeah. I want to say come along with me to heaven, but that sounds a little bit overly pious right there. I'm just implying, oh, I'm definitely going to heaven, and I want you guys to join me. No, I honestly do not know about my own salvation, just for the record. I mean, yes, I wish that atheists and agnostics, and particularly the ones within my circle, would accept Jesus as their savior and be saved as well. But in the ultimate scheme of things, as far as the physical world goes, I don't think religion has much effect as far as the liberty aspect of how much liberty a country allows its citizens to have. I mean I'm more of a political commentator than a religious commentator.
Seem to have the least amount of freedom, the Muslim world.
What do you say?
The most religious countries on earth have the least amount of freedom, like the Muslim world. They're the most religious countries, and they have, other than North Korea, the worst records in human rights.
By the way, Dark Khan, which church you go to? I go to two different churches. You know, I'm not going to give out the names just so that I don't end up doxing myself, but I'm a non-denominational Christian myself, and I think both of the churches would fall under Protestant or something. But yeah, that is so true. Loudmouth Baphomet says, I did once accept Jesus. Okay, not mean to sound condescending, but when you stop to believe in him, that you then go denying him again. I mean, no offense to any atheists or non-believers out there, but just saying. Anyway, in the grand scheme of things, I care about liberty. Anyways, so about movies, what was you planning to do as far as your news goes?
I finished my scripts for reviews for Batman and Harley Quinn and the Emoji Movie. I finished the Emoji Movie script yesterday.
Rip Emoji Movie a new asshole, Loudmouth.
Oh, fuck the Emoji Movie. I really hated this movie. It is nothing but ads. The fucking thing is nothing but cell phone app commercials. All right, the Scott very loosely described as a terrible comedy. All right, the jokes are never funny. And what's really sad is it comes close. You can kind of see how with more clever writing, some of these jokes could be kind of funny, but no one involved in the movie gave a shit.
Well, after all, the main protagonist was a meh character.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and that was the mood of the writers. Yeah, nah, who cares if this movie's good or not? Yeah.
What did you think of Warcraft? Had you ever seen the Warcraft?
Yes.
I mean, I think that
really
it's
cool, but the script, particularly in the second half, started to get a bit incoherent. It really needed a few more rewrites to more clearly explain itself.
Yeah, I mean the storyline. I don't know. I mean, particularly when it comes to trying to remember all the characters' names, they do not say the characters' names in a way to make you remember, or they don't say the characters' names enough in the movie for you to be able to remember.
I don't have a single character's name in that movie memorized.
10 was the name of the main orc character, and I thought that he was a pretty cool character.
Actually, the movie was easily the best when it was focusing on the orcs rather than the human characters.
Yeah, it gave him a whole lot more personality than Peter Jackson did to his orcs.
Definitely. Like when the movie first started and out in the opening just involving the orcs, I was just kind of like, this movie's pretty cool. Why did it get such bad reviews? And then when the human characters start talking, I'm like, okay, I kind of get it now.
I did not find the dialogue particularly cringy. What really pissed me off about the movie was the shoehorned in relationship between the half orc, half human character. I cannot remember her name for the life of me. And Lothar, the main human character. I think his name was Lothar. But that love relationship, you recall? They shoehorned that in. I remember. It felt so fucking fake. And there was even a deleted scene of when them two end up making out on a bar table. And I'm just thinking, ugh, I'm glad they did not keep this scene into the movie. That just would have ruined it all. That would have made it even more uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable enough that you were seeing them flirting with each other, but to have them actually go on with it, just no. would have made it terrible. Yeah, it's one of the gems in the video game movie industry.
It's probably the best video game based movie I've ever seen, and it shows how little that is saying that one is the best one ever. All right, that how bad most of them are.
You heard of The Unusual Suspect? He's another movie reviewer.
No.
No? Oh, well, he has a list called the top 10 best video game movies. And he goes, I'm going to review the top 10 video game movies that you're least likely to commit self-harm in watching.
Yeah.
Because really, despite still having a top 10 best list, using the word best he's just using that word loosely when really they're still looking at the top 10. There's still not really a terrific movie out there. But one of the movies that he does features is Silent Hill. And I recall watching Silent Hill, and I think to myself, yeah, it's quality. I mean, it's nothing like fantastically memorable or anything, but
there's some
I can't remember.
Imagery in it, yeah.
I cannot recall a part of Silent Hill that made me want to cringe at the dialogue or at the scenery or whatever. I mean, it was well paced, it was well horrified, and just yeah. It just left. It was kind of anticlimactic is the biggest thing.
Yeah,
and it left me kind of empty inside because it was just all in all a depressing film. It had quality, but it was still depressing.
It was extremely.
That's the biggest
worst
problem.
Ones. Have you ever watched any movies by Uwe Boll?
I watched the first and second In the Name of the Kings. The first one I
his
thought
movies are so bad, and he's adapted a lot of video games.
Yeah, I mean, the first In the Name of the King, my personal peasant opinion compared to your cinema snob opinion, I thought the first one was slightly tolerable. The second one was, oh, yeah, it was utterly disastrous, boring, and just,
I remember back in 2006 when I was in high school, okay, I paid for at the Dollar Show theater, the cheap theater, to see Blood Rain just because I heard you saw Kristanna Loken's tits in it. I was in high school at the time, so cut me some slack, okay? And it was not worth it. You do see her tits briefly, not worth it, because that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Such a bad thing. Nothing in it made any sense. The action was horribly shot. All right. The acting was really bad. Like, no one gave a shit. I cannot believe Ben Kinsey goes from Gandhi to this shit. I mean, my God. How do you fall that far? You were in Schindler's List. You were in Gandhi. What are you doing? The fuck are you doing in Blood Rain? What the fuck?
That can't be as bad as Hugh Jackman going from Wolverine to Mr. Ball's Neck in movie 43.
Yeah, actually, Hugh Jackman actually boycotted that movie's premiere because he was just embarrassed of it. And he actually shot that video like 3 years before the movie came out, just kind of as a favor for a friend of his. And when he saw the final product, he immediately disowned it and didn't attend the premiere or do any promotion for it. He was just embarrassed that he did it. He instantly regretted it after he did it. All right. George Clooney was the smart one. He when they asked him to appear in it, he said, "Fuck off."
I mean, Hugh Jackman still had movies like what's that movie? That one robot boxing movie, and then he still features in future X-Men movies, and then Logan finally, just to top off his Wolverine career.
What's funny about that movie? What was that? That robot movie with Hugh Jackman. What's it called? It's funny because I actually once had dinner with a woman who's in that movie, who was like one of the background extras, and she was telling me about it. I like. Oh, you're breaking up. I can't hear you.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Go something. Oh,
I can't hear you anymore. No, it's gone.
Real Steel. That's the name.
Real Steel. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Dude, you should turn your camera off so I can hear your audio. Your internet can't seem to handle video and audio. You really, turn the camera off. Good idea. Your audio always comes back. Your audio always comes through better when you turn the camera off.
No, now I cannot show off my outfit except through my animated lens.
Well, afraid so, but yeah, you were completely breaking up. I couldn't hear a shit you were saying.
I don't know what's up with that. I mean, I was doing fine with the Strike Force number 034, but whatever. Yeah, there's some. Oh yeah, Chappie. What did you think of Chappie?
Started off good. The ending got really stupid.
Oh no, it was stupid. In fact, I would say that if it did not have as much violence and language, that it would have been a kid's movie. But it isn't suitable for any person of any age. It's too stupid for adults and too violent and inappropriate for little kids. Eesh.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
mediocre. It started off good, then the ending got really dumb. that was my.
I mean, it was a nice concept. I mean, uploading a human's consciousness into a robot, I thought that was kind of cool. Somebody like living their robot fetish in that movie, projecting into it.
Yeah. That movie, good concept, poor execution.
And I cannot remember. I can't remember what the name of the one girl character was. You know, the one that's always referred to as Mommy by Chappie. Just, oh my gosh.
I haven't seen that movie in so long. I don't really remember it that well.
Yeah,
and I've only
it's
seen
pretty
it like
forgettable.
one time.
I only seen it once as well, but I can still remember it being childish, but at the same time inappropriately violent and foul mouth. I mean, I get pretty foul mouth myself. Don't get me wrong, but even when I look
Not
back
me.
at
I have the lips
myself,
of an angel.
What?
I said, not me. I have the lips of an angel. You never hear anything profane come out of
You're
my
a liar. You liar. Back onto video game movies. You know what's a consistent thing with them all? I noticed. I mean, other than them all being bad, you know what's a consistent thing with them?
What's
they
that?
all end anticlimactically.
Yes, that is so true. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen Nostalgia Critic's review of Alone in the Dark, I highly recommend you check it out. Honestly, that's probably that's easily one of his top 5 best reviews, easily. All right, and one of the things that, like, at the end, they're like, it turns out some other monsters that were never seen or explained, all right, attacked the city while they were in the sewer, resulting in a complete evacuation of the entire city, all in one night. Wow, that is a lot to buy.
So they just go throwing in all this random shit. They just go throwing all this random shit at the end to try and make it seem more flashy.
Oh, yeah. Alone in the Dark. That's another movie that came out in 2005. One of the all-time worst movies ever made, okay? That movie is biblically stupid, all right? The stupidity of that movie could just fill several office buildings. Oh, my God.
I thought that Warcraft kind of was a change of pace as far as how video game movies ended off. I mean, it felt like it completed a little bit more to me. I mean,
oh yeah,
you look at
compared to Alone in the Dark, Warcraft's a friggin' masterpiece compared to that one.
Yeah. And even Ratchet and Clank the movie. I do not know if you ever seen that, but even Ratchet and Clank the movie ended off not quite as anticlimactically as other video game movies typically do. I mean, Assassin's Creed, it just ends off with them killing. Spoiler alert to everyone. Assassin's Creed ends.
The Assassin's Creed movie, I haven't seen it.
Well, it's all right, I guess, but I feel like that it was trying too hard to be dark and to the point that it comes off as boring at most parts. But not cringy, I would say. It's just boring. That's the only thing. I mean, I fell asleep at some parts of it. I mean, you've seen Doom, right? Like the movie Doom?
Doom? Yeah, that was another kind of pretty bad video game-based movie.
I think the biggest problem was that it was not loyal enough to the source material. I mean, if it just stayed true to the source
kind of story, it was just a game where you went around like a hellish environment shooting monsters.
Well, yeah, but the idea of it was that they all came from hell, that there was like a portal to hell that was on Mars where all these monsters were coming out of, and you're supposed to kill them all, I guess, before they reach Earth or something. And in the Doom movie, they turned out to be a whole bunch of messed up science experiments that you turn into a monster if the 10% of your brain, which is supposed to be the soul, ends up being rotten or whatever. Like you're some big condemned to hell sinner, you become this monster or something like that. I mean, it tries to take off I guess some religious aspects with it, but it does not remain true to the source material in that they actually came from hell. They just turned out to be a whole bunch of messed up science experiments. And I think if it at least stayed true to that source material, that it would have been half decent, because I really did kind of like the movie. I mean, Carl Benjamin was cool to watch. I mean, the action was pretty kick-ass. It was just dumb entertainment all around. I mean, I did not hate it. It's not like what's a movie that I freaking despise? Huh? It's not like Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh.
Annihilation. The Resident Evil, like the most successful of the video game movies. What do you think of all of them?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, you're getting distracted with something. You busy?
No, you broke up a bit.
Oh, what's your opinion of the Resident Evil movies?
Oh, Resident Evil, yes. Kind of bad, but not like completely bad. Just kind of dumb, average dumb schlock kind of bad.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me a little bit, if I'm to be honest.
What does it remind you of?
Makes me think of that. It kind of reminds me of I Am Legend.
Oh yeah, a little bit, but I Am Legend was better. The Will Smith movie, though the alternate ending is much better than the one that was in the theater.
You talking about if Will Smith turns out to be the bad guy?
Yeah, that was kind of the entire point of the novel.
Kind of.
All right, why is it called I Am Legend? All right, because he finds out that he's the monster of their legends. The title I Am Legend could have been I Am Asshole.
Yeah, I do recall that. I do recall that the main character is supposed to be going through all these events, all these tribulations. You're supposed to get invested into the character, and then the ending, spoiler alert, you're supposed to have your heart broken or something.
One of my favorite Meninist memes I saw about that movie, though, is that says, it shows a picture of Will Smith, and it says, "Survived 3 years with a dog, meets a woman, dies the next day."
Oh. You talking about the Spanish-speaking chick?
Yeah, exactly. Will Smith, when he was alone with his dog, he survived alone for 3 years. And then he runs into a woman, and the next day he's dead.
Yeah, MGTOW would be that.
Yes. It's all right. It's like so I'm willing to bet the movie was Angry MGTOW's favorite movie.
Except female ends up being successful and taking the cure, being the one that delivers the cure to the human compound, and then Will Smith ends up dying and being the bad guy. I mean, that would have been the point that would have pissed off Angry MGTOW.
Well, no, the alternate ending is where he turns out he was the bad guy. That was the alternate ending, the much better
right.
ending. And in that one, he lives. He doesn't die in that.
Well, even in the ending when he dies, the female ends up being the deliverer of the cure. So that
but I'm just saying
be a point that would piss him off.
The joke, though, was just that, he meets a woman, the next day he's dead, even though he was alive for 3 years with the dog.
I get you. I guess I'm reflecting too much on it. I'm trying to.
You're looking into way too much an obvious silly joke. Yes.
Oops. How old did you say you were again? 29 or something?
I'm 30.
Okay. I don't know. I guess you probably would have preferred that I did not ask or something. I don't know.
That's okay.
What would you say is like your number one favorite movie trilogy of all time? Lord of the Rings, Star Wars,
The Dark Knight trilogy.
The Dark Knight trilogy.
Yes.
Michael Caine was the pinnacle Alfred, in my opinion. Jeremy Irons was all right, I would say, but Michael Caine was like pinnacle British gentleman. That's what I think of when I think of Alfred is a British gentleman. And Jeremy Irons, his voice, his accent is just a little bit too gruff and tough for him to sound like the pinnacle British gentleman.
Right. But he was more than that. Alfred always was like a member of the British Secret Service before he became a butler. That was always a part of his character.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I have yet to see Justice League, actually. I mean,
Right.
you go telling me, you go saying in your review that it's just, that it's one of the better DC movies to come out thus far.
I said it was better than Batman versus Superman and Suicide Squad. Yes. Suicide Squad was pretty bad. Batman vs Superman was okay if you look out for the director's cut, which is definitely better. And Justice League was a bit better than those two, but it still could have been a lot better than it was.
You say that Man of Steel is better?
I'd say yes, yeah.
What's about Man of Steel that you like about it? Because that movie, I hear, had very mixed reviews. Some of the most mixed of any Superman movie.
I kind of like that it explored and what made Superman start and kind of in an interesting way. And a lot of people didn't like that Superman kills Zod at the end, but I did not mind that at all because for one thing, Zod gave him no choice there. Okay, all right. What else could Superman have done? No prison could have contained him. So, and he declared his intention to kill every person on the planet. So, what else was Superman going to do other than kill him?
That's one of the main things that makes me like Marvel a whole lot better than DC is that DC gives too much of a shit about making sure that they don't kill people, even the fucking villains. Whereas Marvel, they don't give as much of a shit about whether or not villains die.
Oh yes,
what?
But yeah, but Superman kills Zod, and some people didn't like that, and I don't understand why. Though I will say the after scene to that was pretty bad because. Think about the implications of that. Superman was forced to kill the last member of his kind, okay, and make himself alone in the universe, the last of his kind. All right. There should have been like some deep reflection on that afterwards, but the movie kind of failed to do that.
Right. Well, technically, he's supposed to be like containing the last of the seed of Krypton. Like at the very beginning of the movie, when he's a baby, he gets infused with the DNA of, I don't know, thousands of Kryptonian children.
Yeah, I like that the movie really emphasizes Superman's alien nature more than previous versions of the character. And the action sequences kicked all kinds of ass. So, yeah, when I saw Man of Steel, it had some problems. It's far from a perfect movie, but I overall thought the positives outweighed the negatives.
I think the biggest thing that annoyed me about the whole killing Zod scene was the way that Superman, like, the way that he just shouted, like he acted like that he killed his one of his own family members or friends or something.
Did kind of, because keep in mind, this was the last of his kind. He may have been a villain, he may have been somebody who gave him no choice but to kill him. All right, but he was the last of his race. All right. By doing so, he made himself the last of his kind. All right. One of the loneliest beings ever, the Lonesome George. Okay.
Yeah, I do have to keep that in mind, I guess. There's actually a new series. There's actually a new DC series that is coming out soon, and that is called Krypton. That brings in Brainiac, actually. And I'm thinking, oh, see Brainiac on the screen, on the big screen. Well, not the big screen because it's just a series. It's not a
I was kind of hoping they would make Brainiac the villain. I hope if they do another sequel to Man of Steel, Man of Steel 2 without the rest of the Justice League, the villain's Brainiac.
All right.
I really think that would work. In order to do that, make it so that he gets taken away from Earth and that Superman could be like hopping the galaxy or something. Encounters Brainiac and the past of Krypton.
Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, though. I mean, his performance was painful. I felt like a part of me died inside. I mean, I'm not the biggest, much less the most versed fan of the source material. as far as DC goes, but I know for certain that Lex Luthor was supposed to be a whole lot more serious than that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
ultimately, he's a complete and utter clown. I mean, he's like a kid on ADHD that forgot to take his meds. Cannot stand still for the life of him. And plus, he's a bit of a little bitch. I mean, Lex Luthor is supposed to be a whole lot more bulked up than that as well. I mean, he doesn't have to be like super big, but still, Jesse Eisenberg was small. Like, he was even smaller than I think. What's the guy who played as a recent Joker? I mean, he looked smaller than this version Joker in comparison.
Well, yeah.
I mean, at least make Lex Luthor taller and bigger than the Joker, for crying out loud.
Yep.
I mean, we've yet to see damn it, I can't remember his name. I'm gonna search up Suicide Squad.
Jared Leto is the recent
Jared. Yes, that's his name, Jared Leto. Thank you. I mean, we've yet to see Jared Leto's Joker and Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor in the same movie together, but I can still. It still looks like Jesse Eisenberg is smaller than Jared Leto.
Yep.
I honestly don't have any more other things to talk about. I mean, I was mainly wanting to arrange this because I thought, a conversation on religion would probably be good because I saw your Tyler Preston stream.
Yeah, Tyler's a cool guy.
Yeah, I've seen a few of his videos, although I haven't been super motivated to watch his stuff. What do you think of Derek Blackman, like some black guy?
He's okay. Nothing against him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest fault that I would have with him is that somebody, I don't know, called Tree of Logic and Uncle Tom or some other racial slur and Aunt Jemima for pandering out to the alt-right on race realism. And then Derek was all like, okay, one of Derek's fans called Tree of Logic an Aunt Jemima or some other racial slur. And Derek was all like, usually I would disagree with using racial slurs, but in this context, it would be defined as that. Well, actually, it's more of a racial slur to define somebody as a sellout. But still, that's the biggest fault
and
I have
with Jemima, like the syrup. Well, I'd be like, well, so you're saying it tastes so sweet then?
I don't know. Whatever the female version of an Uncle Tom is supposed to be. I mean, I don't know if you had ever seen that, but Tree of Logic made a video during the whole she made a video.
She defended Rage After Storm, I believe.
Yeah, she did, and she was also defending herself from accusations of being the female version of an Uncle Tom. And one of Derek, like I said again, one of Derek's fans called her that, and Derek was all like, "Usually I don't defend that kind of accusations, but in this case, that would be it." Yeah.
I have to look at the full context. I don't know.
What kind of pissed me off about Tree of Logic is, oddly enough, she considered like AIU as a friend or an ally or something.
Well, in that case, fuck her.
No, I don't think I want to.
That's all you need. You know how I am about AIU. If you say anything nice about that guy, I'm like, fuck him.
Yeah.
I've made that my position on that asshole very clear.
Yeah. I mean, even with his response videos, I mean, even if I was to watch his response videos regarding police towards the Young Turks or secular talk, the thing is, though, I'd agree with what he's saying, but I can find that kind of content with any other channel out there. So nothing special with him on that.
Oh, I agree with that guy far more often than I disagree with that guy on like the substance of issues he talks about. But my God, the guy's narcissism. Every video,
Mm-hmm.
he smugly jerks himself off. He makes a point that's semi-decent sometimes, and then he'll be like, oh man, I just made the most brilliant point ever. You just got pawned. No one could possibly match me in a battle of wits. In every fucking video of his.
Yeah.
Because again, what I said about him, the guy's a psychopath, and psychopaths have an insanely delusionally high opinion of themselves. That's a key trait among them, all of them.
Yeah. I gotta ask, what is it with no bullshit in psychopaths? I mean, either he agrees with them or he makes them look good. Like he agrees with the AIU on, it goes defending him on his whole doxing thing, as you explained in your video, and he makes vegan gains look good. Like he doesn't know how to handle psychopaths at all.
Honestly, no bullshit. I'm not really as sure about him as I am about AIU or vegan gains, but he definitely displays some sociopathic qualities himself. I mean, he's also incredibly delusionally arrogant. All right, he delusionally like read his tweets. You notice how he ends every tweet with "lol" or "ha ha," even though he never said anything funny. Like he seems to think that everything he said is just brilliant and funny, even when he said nothing funny. All right.
I fucking hate it whenever a person over text will add a fake LOL. I mean, I made
he does that with like that. Half of No Bullshit's tweets do that. And another thing that's really creepy about the guy is his Holocaust denial. All right, he is what was it? There was one guy who talked about on his feed about losing family in the Holocaust. Okay, there's only two things a normal empathetic person could do to that. Well, the proper thing to do would have just been to ignore it because the guy probably was fishing for attention, okay? That probably would have been the smart thing, which, of course, No Bullshit never does the smart thing, so that was obviously out. Or the other thing would have been to express empathy. Instead, he decides to be like, I lost some family in the war, too. What makes your family any better? I'm like, what a horrible asshole thing to say. That's how that guy is. He compulsively has to say the worst, the most stupid, obnoxious asshole thing that you can possibly say. He feels the compulsive need to say it.
Oh, yeah.
He can't take the high ground. He's not capable.
He is pretty bad with that. And is yeah. I don't know. I think this stream might be starting to die down. Was there something else that you wanted to say?
No, not really. You asked for a stream. I thought I'd come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if how much further we could get on the whole religion. Yeah, I honestly, I don't know.
I think I made a good case against religion.
Fuck you.
Hey, sorry. I used to be religious too. All right, I'm not anymore. All right, I realized seeing things is just much more clear when you just remove that from your life. You know, yeah. I feel happier. Like I used to like if I would jerk off or go or something or have lustful thoughts for a woman, I would be like afraid that I pissed off Jesus because in the Bible it says looking at a woman with lust in your heart is committing adultery. It's like a damnable offense, and I like apologize in my head. All right, and once you really get that fear out of your mind, it's more liberating.
Well, I think they're referring to that if you look at somebody who's married, because the definition of adultery is hitting on somebody who's married or when you yourself are married.
Well, no, it says in the Bible, just looking at any woman with lust in your heart is committing adultery of the mind. So, yeah, you get a boner, you deserve to have fire shoved up your ass in hell for that boner.
I think the specific passage might have clarified if you look at a married woman with lust in your heart.
No, it says any woman. But even if she is a married woman, you can't really help who you're attracted to, you know?
Well, I think...
If you don't act on those impulses, I don't see what the problem is.
as far as lust goes, I mean, I guess the best thing that a person could do is pray about self-control. But all in all, I don't think that lust is really that controllable of a thing. I mean, it's not like
No,
you
it's
can
not.
just stop
It's not controllable at all. You can't
It's
decide
not
who
like
you're
you.
attracted to.
So it's why that I kind of say that's a little bit of a moot point. I mean, the best that you could do is pray first and ask for forgiveness about it.
I mean, but I don't see why it's something that I need forgiveness for. There's nothing wrong with it. All right. It's not something I can consciously control, and it's not something that harms anyone. Okay. Me thinking perverted thoughts about a woman does not in any way hurt that woman. Okay. It's a totally victimless act, is what I'm saying. All right. The idea of that of being reading your mind and simply thinking the wrong thing can like be used against you in some kind of celestial court is just a terrifying and horrible notion. It's really good to free your mind of such things. You know, it's liberating.
Where's that website?
Like it's bad enough being judged for everything you say in today's world. Imagine a world where you're judged for not just what you say, but everything that you think. All right, let's say you accidentally think of something messed up, all right, and it gets used against you, let's say in a job interview. Yeah, well, last week you were thinking some shit. You want to explain that to me?
The way that I understand, yeah, I'm here. The way that I understand adultery, though, by definition, is regarding if one is married.
Again, though, the Bible says otherwise. Jesus says otherwise. A verse attributed to Jesus says otherwise. Adultery of the mind is a thing in Christianity. If you're just going by the Old Testament, yes, but Christianity radicalizes that by adding adultery of the mind as an offense.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, I would not be lusting for somebody else's. No, I'm saying I'm agreeing with you on the whole mind part, but just I guess I'm disagreeing with the who, with the on who. I mean, does it mean okay, voluntaries?
I'm not getting what you're trying to say.
I don't know. I'm not articulating my words very well, but it's still saying that the definition of adultery, like Merriam-Webster, voluntary sexual intercourse between.
We're not talking about Webster. We're talking about the Gospels.
Yeah, I'm just not grasping it. I mean, going off of the definition of adultery. I mean, maybe just by saying the word adultery, Jesus was trying to imply, referring to that if you are lusting after somebody who is married or you yourself are married.
But he does not specify marriage there. He says you look with lust in your heart. Any form of sexual lust counts. Okay?
I cannot remember.
I mean, come on.
Like another verse.
When you dream, okay, all right, you probably have sex with women in your dreams all the time. All right, I know I do. All right, that's just subconsciously how the mind is programmed to work. It's not something you can control.
I think there might be some other verses that go talking about lust in of itself and not necessarily adulterous lust.
Why is lust a sin at all? I mean, the entire reason we exist is because our parents had lust.
Well, worrying is technically considered as a sin, I think, as well. I mean, you know what? Honestly, those like very low level. I don't know. I was about to say low level, but when I say low level, somebody's going to think I'm thinking I'm referring to like murder or rape or something to do. I mean, yeah, those very mild actions, I'll use the word mild. Those very mild actions, they do not affect any other person. I don't know. My head hurts.
Uh,
I wouldn't know why they are defined as sins. I'll just leave it at that.
Yep. But I'm saying, you know, if something feels good and doesn't hurt anybody, do it. That's my attitude.
Right.
And I don't see what's wrong with that. The way I look at it, we're only here for this short period of time, and that's it. So if it feels good and it doesn't hurt anybody, there's no reason not to do it.
Sorry, I'm trying to still search up here.
Okay.
And I will grant that there are some rather vague verses that go using the term sexual immorality, but they don't necessarily specify which sexual immorality that they're referring to. Like, obviously, adultery, that would be considered a sexual immorality even by secularists, because if you're committing adultery, you are cheating on one party or the other. But what else would that said verse be referring to as sexual immorality as well? Like masturbation, homosexuality.
Yeah, all those things are considered sins in the biblical worldview. Jerking off, homosexuality in general. These are all considered sins, and I don't see how they're harmful.
I don't think there was really any specific verse that says out and out, "Thou shalt not masturbate." And there was like a book that I had started reading.
But, there's a story in in Genesis where a man spills his seed on the ground and God strikes him dead for it.
Yeah, I did like a video response to a meme that S-Man shared talking about that verse, among many other verses. But I think I know what story you're talking about. I think the reason why he was punished was not necessarily because he had was not necessarily because of masturbation, but just because he was refusing to have child with that said woman.
Isn't that his choice? You know, I mean, all right, it doesn't seem like a punishment that fits the crime.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that story. I mean, it does sound pretty messed up, but I'm just saying that in the context of the story, it's not saying masturbation is a sin. It's saying that guy was sinning because he was not having child with that wife when he was told to.
So he had to have sex when he didn't want to have sex, or he wanted to have sex with someone he didn't want to have sex. It's still not any better.
Well, he was already technically having sex, but he just had not ejaculated inside the woman. We're getting kind of crude here, but that just doesn't ejaculate.
This story's fucked up.
But he was already technically having sex. I mean, getting aroused and everything, and he was about to, ejaculate inside her to create child, but he had just pulled out right before he had fully ejaculated. So technically, he was already having sex. It's just, yeah. I mean, if you want to ask specifically, so he was supposed to have a child with that woman, I would say yes. And because he got why did he get punished? I will say to you, yeah, it does seem that he got punished because he was refusing to have a child with that woman. I do not know why it was so important that he does have a child with that woman, but I just know that he was told to. I'm just trying to clarify the context of that verse because right here, and you don't out and out say, I don't mean to put words in your mouth. You don't out and out say that that verse is saying that there shall not be no masturbation at all, but you're saying that it's kind of borderline. I'm just trying to clarify the context of the story. And I'm just trying to clarify the context of the story. Is all I'm trying to do.
Ground, aka he ejaculated, but not into a woman, aka are okay, kind of masturbating. That's what masturbation is.
Well, it was a story of one person was supposed to do one action. It wasn't like there was any general commandment given out by God or Jesus or whoever saying you shall not touch yourself in your nether regions to have sexual pleasure.
Okay, but on the other part, homosexuality, there's no doubt the Bible condemns that.
I'll have to like link to you a video of where there was this gay Christian trying to clarify that it's not no longer a sin. I mean, he goes saying that yes, and I will say to you, yes, in the Old Testament, it was definitely said that you shall stone a homosexual man, and I can I can understand. I don't know how to put this without sounding so cynical, but I can understand why God put the commandment out there. I mean, it's still kind of fucked up and it invades a person's individuality and it's more of a collectivist nature, it seems. But the reason why he put it in is because he's trying to like help build up a nation, build up the Hebrew tribes into a full-on nation and trying to keep the productivity up. And it's hard to reproduce when your people are having anal sex, you know?
Yeah, but it's safe to say if they're having anal sex with dudes, that those members of the tribe probably aren't good for reproduction anyway. So might as well let them keep going.
Oh, not good for reproduction. Why? Because they cannot get aroused at the pussy?
Yeah. If they can't get aroused at a pussy, then they're probably not going to have too many kids.
Well, I don't know. Maybe God was just thinking, I don't want to try and read God's mind, but maybe that they ought to try to force themselves. I don't know. Just try to imagine that it was a man's asshole.
Wouldn't it be his fault if one of his creations is attracted to the wrong thing? Isn't that kind of his own fuck up?
I would say not really. I mean,
no,
if you want to say
every single flaw that any human being has is God's fault because he designed us with those flaws.
He designed us for free will. And you say that it's a fuck up for him to be given us free will?
Free will is largely an illusion. They say the brain more subconsciously makes decisions, and our conscious mind more justifies those decisions of our subconscious. That's what they. That's what actually a lot of brain science now believes. If you read some of Sam Harris's works, but the thing is, again, when it comes to attraction, it's not about free will because nobody decides what they are attracted to. Okay, I mean, no, I'm attracted to pretty.
I'm not saying that.
Hold on, I'm attracted to pretty women because, as most men are, because those are the kind of forms that will give me healthiest children if I copulate with them. Okay, women with healthy-looking bodies, high facial symmetry. All right, things with these characteristics. All right, are features that would most likely, if I were to have a baby with them, the baby would be healthy, okay? That's why I'm programmed subconsciously to be attracted to such things, okay? Nobody can decide. There's no free will involved in deciding what you're attracted to. It's just kind of what nature selects for you.
The free will part comes in as to whether you decide to act on your lust or not.
But the lust itself is not a choice. Like, and homosexuality is also not a choice. All right. From what I hear,
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. I'm not being all like Ben Carson and saying that homosexuality is a choice. No. Because homosexuality is just a form of lust. That's all.
Yeah, it's just a form of lust, you know. Except they lust over. They say it's something when they're fetuses. They say that something in the brain, like parts that are normatively in the mind of a girl would be put in the mind of a boy if like the wrong chemical mix is done during the pregnancy. I think there's some science that supports that is why homosexuals appear every now and then in the population.
In the grand scheme of things, though, Regarding free will, I mean, the way that I look at it is that, yes, God could have just made it so that we not have free will, that no choice, even in our minds, that he forced us to choose, and it's not really a choose if we are like mind controlled to just bend our knee to him and just do nothing but worship him. He could have made it so that you're a bunch of programmed robots and did not have any sense of free will. But would a person really love that person if he mind controlled them? Or would it be more of an act of love to give them the choice as to obey them or not? I mean, I think that's the latter, that the reason why it gives us free will is because he loves us. It seems like an act of hate if you're not giving a person free will, if you're just mind controlling them. It's just my personal opinion.
But if that makes any sense. But if those bad decisions that people make lead them to certain consequences, and if this is all like a test of free will, how come? All right, that test should logically be fair, is it not? But as you well know, life is not fair. Certain people are always born with advantages that other people don't have. Some people are smarter than others. Some people are prettier than others. Some people are born into wealthier homes than others. And in terms of religion, okay, some people are born into households that teach them a certain religion and others aren't. And while some people convert religions, most people stick with the same faith they're taught as a child. Okay, so it seems to me that picking the wrong religion, okay, assuming one of these religions is true, is simply a matter of being born in the wrong house, not any kind of free will.
I think Ravi Zacharias might have been confronted with that question. I'm not sure what he said about what about if somebody ends up being born in a different religion and then they end up
like a good portion of this world has never heard of Christianity, like never been taught it, never have any recollection of it, you know. And yet, according to the worldview of any fundamentalist Christians, it would be lesser. He'd be lesser in the eyes of God than they would be, because they don't believe in him, they don't worship him. But that's not really those people's fault. They were never taught this like the Christian was throughout his life.
And if the ultimate question is a person who's never even been introduced to Christianity in their life going to hell, that I do not know. Dang it!
The entire concept of hell really shows what an evil monster the God of the Bible really is. All right, all crimes, okay, all of them, the worst crimes imaginable are finite. Okay, the suffering like Hitler, Pol Pot, Mao Zedong did, all of it was finite. Okay, not infinite. Thus, infinite punishment does not fit any crime. All right. Thus, it's never a punishment that fits the crime. So it's a perversion of all sense of justice.
Murder, rape, pedophilia, none of them?
They're all finite acts. The suffering those actions cause is finite.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, technically,
modern justice is based on the notion that punishments should fit the crime. For example, let's say the death penalty, for example. You kill somebody, all right, you murdered somebody else, therefore you get your life taken away. That is, in a way, a punishment that fits the crime, is it not? You know, a life for a life, a punishment, all right, equal pay. But, or you get locked up in prison for the rest of your life and your life is ruined. Again, it fits the crime. You took somebody else's life, therefore you essentially lose yours. Or you steal somebody, you stay in prison for a length of time determined that is enough of a punishment to make up for what you did. That's how justice is supposed to work. All right. By definition, eternal punishment, even for the worst crime imaginable, all right, is not just.
Well, I know what is up with that. My only thought it would be is that God doesn't want the immoral people, the unrepentant murderers and rapists and so forth, to be in his eternal realm of paradise, that being heaven.
What if somebody repents while they're in hell? What if somebody, after, let's say, 1,000 years in hell, realizes that everything they did was wrong? All right, and they're truly reformed. Shouldn't they be let out?
I'm not so sure.
All right, it would seem fundamentally vindictive and evil to leave him there, would it not?
I don't know. I mean, should we let out a serial killer, or not a serial killer? Say that somebody just killed one person and they get a 20-year sentence. If they, like, halfway through their sentence go crying out that they regret what they did, should we let them out then?
Well, there's a huge difference. We have no way of knowing whether that person is sincere, and we generally assume he's not sincere because we're usually right, okay? But a God would be able to read someone's mind, and thus a God would know for sure if that person was sincere. Yes, if we could read the man's mind and we could know 100% that he was sincere, which obviously we can't, then yeah, we should. All right, it wouldn't make any more sense to keep him there if he truly, sincerely repents for what he did. And a God could know that man's heart, know the man's mind. Okay, could he not? Whereas we can't. Generally, if somebody's truly a psychopath, we generally accept that psychopaths are incapable of remorse, and thus any apology they give is not sincere, and that's usually the case.
Sorry,
but even then, is their actions, the actions of a psychopath, really, in a way, their own fault? Psychopaths have something wrong with their brains. They can't empathize with others. They see themselves as gods among humanity, fundamentally because their brains are malformed. They don't have mirror neurons that most people do that allow them to empathize with others. Essentially, they're locking them up so that they don't hurt any more people, of course. But in a way, all right, their sins are the sins of whatever God created them. For making them, for creating them with malformed brains.
So AIU's actions is not really his own fault. I mean, I'm not wanting to put words in your mouth, but I'm trying to ask a legitimate question.
Well, in terms of his actions, well, in a way, I mean, there may have been something that happened to him along his life. I don't know the man's whole life story, so I don't know what made him the way he is. But yeah, there probably were actions beyond his control that made him the way he is, and the same with any other psychopath. Yes. All right. Well, I mean, like something about, like how his brain formed, what experiences he had in his life that messed him up. I don't know any of that. All right. I mean, yeah, his actions are inexcusable, of course, but at the same time, you do have to look that everyone is a product of their environment. Everyone is molded by circumstances beyond their control. That doesn't mean his actions were okay, or any other psychopath's actions are okay.
Right. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here, looking for a specific... Oh, dang it, it was right down there. Trying to multitask because I'm trying to find a specific video. Yeah, that basically goes talking about how homosexuality could be seen as not a sin for the modern day context of the Bible. Copying.
Does the Bible really have modern day context? It really is simply a product of its time.
Well, I'm talking about the new covenant compared to the old covenant is what I modern day context. I mean, it was probably a poor choice of words, but ultimately that's what I mean by modern day context is, yeah. Um, I'm going to mute this link. I mean, there's some real food for thought, and I guess the ultimate, the only thing that I could say is that I don't know God's intent. I do not know why he does what he does. I mean, I can only offer my own layman's flawed interpretation of the question of why.
To like if psychopaths, in a way, I do kind of pity psychopaths. I hate them and pity them at the same time. I mean, as horrible as psychopaths are and all the horrible things they always do to people throughout the world every single day, you know, some part of me knows that, yes, there probably was something that fucked them up, you know? Maybe they were just born that way, all right? Maybe it's something in their genes that they can't help. Maybe they had abusive childhood. Who knows? There's a whole bunch of things that can mess up a person's brain, you know, make their brain not function correctly so that they end up doing something absolutely horrible. You can still acknowledge what they did was horrible and inexcusable. And if somebody's truly dangerous, they need to be locked up for public safety. But you can also look. But you also got to look at all the circumstances that are beyond anyone's ability to control.
Right. I think
if God exists, they are in his ability to control, and thus they're his fault.
His fault for what? Giving free will or psychological flaws?
For giving people psychological flaws, you know, or physical flaws, or anything else that makes the game of life unfair.
Well, if somebody has literally no control over their own actions, like you are kind of putting it out to be, I don't know. I mean, I guess the way that God might look at it is that it's just basically a dead but moving husk. Like hashtag AIU is a dead moving husk. He has no control over his own actions.
Oh shit, dude.
And what? What?
Dude, come on.
And so I'm just saying that the real soul of Devin Tracy might be, I don't know, might have been forgiven in heaven, but
this conversation to be about that asshole, dude. Come on.
Okay, never mind then. Well, I'm trying to like make an analogy. I mean, the point that I'm trying to make is if somebody really has absolutely no control over their own actions, then I don't know this for certain, but I could see God forgiving that individual and giving their soul salvation. But all the flaws, I mean, because that's ultimately like the ultimate philosophy of it all. The idea of salvation is that God will get rid of all of your flaws as he brings you up to heaven. And I guess that kind of brings up the argument, why doesn't he just the murderer, the rapist or whatever gets up there, gets rid of their unrepentant immoral behavior and just accept them up in heaven anyways? Well, I don't know. You go talking about of how overly Batman versus Superman, of how much of a tryhard it can be with philosophy. But yeah. I guess this kind of makes me think of the one line that Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor brought up. If God's all good, then he isn't all powerful. But if he's all powerful, then he isn't all good.
Yeah, but that's a line that's been around for a while that didn't originate with Batman versus Superman.
Oh, right. No, well, that's where I originally heard it from.
Not sure where that originates, but I know it's been around a lot longer than Batman versus Superman.
All right.
Zack Snyder definitely was not the one who came up with that line.
I think I might end off this live stream here pretty soon. Anything else you want to say out there to the audience?
Subscribe to Loudmouth Reviews. All right. Carl's Jr.'s. Fuck you. I'm eating.
Yeah, everybody subscribe to Loudmouth Reviews. He really puts effort into his videos. He's mostly a movie reviewer. He rarely ever does political shit, but whenever he does political shit, he's pretty spot on about it, like his no bullshit response video and response videos to conspiracy theorists and so on and so forth. And he's a pretty comedic about them too, is another thing. Anyway, I'm Zach, the Dark Conservatarian. This is Strike Force number 035, interview with Loudmouth Reviews. We talked about religion and movies, and a little bit about YouTube drama, but not a whole lot of it about it. Zach, the Dark Conservatarian, signing out.